Welcome back to Horrifying Stories. In this episode, we explore one of the most haunting and notorious tragedies in the history of diving. The ill-fated dive of Yuri Lipski at Egypt's Dahab Blue Hole. His story serves as a chilling reminder of the inherent risks that come with venturing into the depths. This is his horrifying story. Viewer discretion is advised. Our planet is a water world, with over 70% of its surface covered by oceans, seas, and other bodies of water. These vast expanses of blue hold mysteries that continue to baffle and intrigue us. In fact, it's often said that we know more about the surface of Mars than we do about the bottom of our oceans. The truth behind this statement is that the ocean's depths are among the least explored and most enigmatic places on Earth. Despite advancements in technology, there are regions of the ocean that remain untouched, harboring secrets and wonders yet to be discovered. As we venture into the ocean, even at shallow depths, we encounter an entirely new world. The underwater environment is rich with life, from the smallest plankton to the largest whales. Coral reefs, often referred to as the rainforests of the sea, are teeming with biodiversity. These ecosystems are home to a myriad of species, each uniquely adapted to the underwater world. The sight of a coral reef, with its vibrant colors and diverse inhabitants, is something that leaves an indelible mark on anyone fortunate enough to witness it. The allure of the ocean, with its cool, inviting waters and the promise of discovery, draws countless adventurers to its depths. One of the wonders found in these oceans are the blue holes. These are sinkholes sunken in water, mostly made out of limestone rock, and true to its name, are typically in deep midnight blue color, which are often easily seen from an aerial viewpoint. It has been believed that many of these blue holes can be traced back to thousands of years ago, in the last ice age. As the waters rose and the sea level became higher, sinkholes were slowly filled with water, bringing about striking blue holes in our oceans. Surrounded by the walls of the blue hole, the waters are calm and totally without current. Depending on its geographical location, blue holes can also be home to rich marine life. Corals can easily thrive in blue holes as it protects them from damaging currents and storms. However, even in the absence of abundant marine life, the rock formation that has evolved over the years within these blue holes are more than enough to captivate the thrill-seeking hearts of divers. One of the most infamous blue holes in the world is the Blue Hole in Dahab, Egypt. Situated just a few kilometers north of Dahab on the coast of the Red Sea Sinai Peninsula, this blue hole is remarkably accessible, just a few meters from the shore. Its accessibility has made it a magnet for snorkelers, freedivers, and scuba divers from around the world. However, it is not just the beauty of the blue hole that draws people in, it is also the challenge it presents. For many divers, Dahab's blue hole is a proving ground, a place to test their limits and push the boundaries of what they can achieve underwater. At the forefront of the Dahab blue hole is what they call the saddle, 6 meters deep, which is its shallow opening to the sea. Although the maximum depth within the hole itself is just over 100 meters, attached to it is a tunnel that is 26 meters long, known as the Arch. The tunnel's ceiling can be found at the depth of 55 meters, while its floor along the side of the sea reaches at a depth of 120 meters. The actual seafloor is a sharp drop of over 1,000 meters deep. The saddle has a beautiful coral reef, making it a great snorkeling spot. The hole's wall also showcases a display of hard corals and a rich marine life. While these all seem to create such a perfect image in our minds, it is no secret that this blue hole is one of the most dangerous and deadliest diving sites in the world. Roughly around 130 to 200 divers have died here over the years, averaging at 8 deaths per year in the last 15 years alone. One of the unfortunate ones was Yuri Lipski. Yuri Lipski was a diving instructor from Russia, who at the young age of 22, unknowingly went for his last dive on April 28, 2000. His death stands out among all others because it was all caught on camera. Having been recovered from the depths of the blue hole, along with Yuri's body, it was amazing that his camera didn't get damaged considering its last location was over the gadget's maximum depth limit. Tragically, it showed every heart-wrenching second of his very last dive leading to Yuri's untimely death. Despite being repeatedly warned of the dangers of his diving attempt, Yuri was more than determined to take on this challenge. According to various sources, the attempt he was about to make was popularly known among divers as the bounce dive. This type of dive is when the diver descends deep into the water very swiftly and immediately ascends back to the surface. An attempt that divers often take to beat their own records, but an extremely dangerous dive even for the most experienced, in spite of meticulous planning. Recreational diving is defined by diving at depths of no more than 130 feet or 40 meters. Most recreational divers use regular air to dive, which is 79% nitrogen and 21% oxygen. Going beyond the recreational diving limits is considered as technical diving. Technical divers use a different gas mixture called trimix. Trimix is an umbrella term for breathing a blend of 3 different gases, which are oxygen, nitrogen, and helium, to prevent nitrogen narcosis. Nitrogen narcosis is caused by breathing high concentrations of nitrogen underwater. When a diver goes deeper in the water, partial pressure of nitrogen increases and more nitrogen ends up getting absorbed into the bloodstream. Technically, nitrogen narcosis can take effect anywhere below 60 feet or 18 meters, but below 130 feet or 40 meters, it reaches the point of being unmanageable without specialized training. That is why it is very important to get trained and be certified as a technical diver if one plans on going deeper than the 130-foot limit. When you experience nitrogen narcosis, it affects your judgment, coordination, focus, and leads to poor decision-making ability. Depending on the individual diver, one might experience paranoia, extreme anxiety, depression, euphoria, and the diver may feel overconfident, disregarding normal safe diving practices. It is also often compared to alcohol intoxication or being drunk, or even that of taking illegal drugs. Once more nitrogen is within the body system, as a diver ascends back to the surface, all this nitrogen must also leave the body. However, if one ascends too rapidly, it can also lead to another serious complication known as decompression sickness. Thus, a slow and steady ascent is necessary. To achieve this, divers must take a decompression stop. The deeper the dive, the more decompression stops are required as you ascend. It is simply just stopping at a particular depth for a particular length of time following what is indicated in the dive computer attached to a diver's wrist. Oxygen toxicity, on the other hand, is a lung damage that happens when you breathe in too much oxygen, otherwise known as oxygen poisoning. In diving, going beyond 57 meters means an exceedingly higher risk of seizures and death. Also, it is important to note that as you go deeper, the increased pressure causes you to breathe faster, leading to faster air consumption. Additionally, as the air in your buoyancy control device and your body compresses under greater pressure, you become less buoyant, making you more likely to sink than float. Now that the basics are laid out, combining all these factors, you would understand how seriously complicated and dangerous Yuri's dive was, going into a 92-meter dive with only a 12-liter tank of compressed air. The recovered footage started out to be very shaky and unstable, showing Yuri probably adjusting or setting up his camera while still above shallow waters. It can also be observed that there were many other divers in the area. Then, he started swimming out until he was above the deepest part of the water. 2 minutes and 43 seconds into the video, Yuri started with a slow descent. At around 3 minutes and 40 seconds, you can hear him deflating his buoyancy device, more commonly called as BCD. Doing this will make him sink faster. True enough, 7 seconds later, you'd notice many particles or bubbles moving fast to the direction of the camera. This only meant one thing, that he was going into a rapid headfirst descent. At 4 minutes and 14 seconds, his breathing must have started to become deeper as you would hear some squeaks which almost seemed like he was wheezing. By this time, he must be consuming a lot more air with every breath. You would then hear him probably inflate his BCD to slow down his descent a little. However, you can still see fast-moving particles going towards the camera, still indicating the speed at which he was descending. At 5 minutes and 9 seconds, his dive computer sounds off an alarm. Some divers say this might be warning him that maximum time has been reached. Less than 30 seconds later, you can see that he's already reached the bottom, and next you would see him repeatedly trying to film his dive computer properly to show his depth. Although the dive computer was only captured very quickly in the video, it was still seen that he reached a depth of 91.6 meters. At this point, some divers are certain that he is already experiencing nitrogen narcosis and oxygen toxicity. However, what somehow amazed them was that he was still conscious and moving, and that there were no visible seizures yet. Shortly after, the series of events escalated rapidly. The last 2 minutes or so showed heart-racing scenes of him struggling and panicking. At 6 minutes and 7 seconds, it might have sunk into him that he needed to ascend immediately. You can hear him attempting to inflate his BCD so he could start ascending. The BCD should have been fully inflated after 4 seconds, but sadly you couldn't see him move upwards. This might have been due to the extreme pressure, considering how deep into the sea Yuri was, and probably his weights might have been too heavy. The next few seconds he seemed to be bumping around, stumbling and struggling a lot, with sand or dust particles all around him making matters worse. Between 6 minutes and 32 seconds to 6 minutes and 37 seconds, you would notice shorter and quieter breaths. Experts say, by this time, his tank was about to go empty. The struggling and constant movements continue on for around 20 more seconds. At 7 minutes and 4 seconds, the camera movement abruptly stops, displaying a black portion as if the camera had dropped to the bottom surface. This was how Yuri's dive ended, at the bottom of the blue hole. What was meant to document a win, his very own record-breaking moment, turned out to be a documentation of how he utterly lost his life. Upon the request of Yuri's mother, the next day his body was recovered by Tariq Omar, an expert deepwater diver, and was one of those who tried to warn Yuri of the great risk he was about to literally and figuratively dive into. According to Omar, who has already lost count of the number of bodies he recovered, some bodies were just too deep to retrieve. Because of this, aside from being a popular dive site, the Dahab Blue Hole is considered to be a diver's cemetery for those who were left unrecovered. Clenched onto the rocks in the area near the Blue Hole are memorial plaques in honor of all the divers who have not been able to come back to the shore alive. Yet what remains a mystery about these Blue Hole deaths is that not only did it take the lives of those who went on extremely dangerous scuba diving, but strangely even those who simply went snorkeling. Now the question lingers. Is it worth risking everything to break a record? Thank you for making it this far. If you liked this video, please like and consider subscribing to our channel for more horrifying stories. Again, thank you, and see you on the next one.